Hey folks, we are about to get ready in just a minute here, so if everyone could move toward the front, find some seats, and clear a path through the middle of the room, please. All right, and now if everyone would please stand and join me in welcoming the Governor of the great state of West Virginia, Governor Earl Ray Tomblin.
My name's Kent Carper, and I have been asked by Governor Tomblin first to introduce him. That's already been done. This is the governor. Why are we here? We're here for three reasons. Number one, I would respectfully remind everyone that Kanawha County and many of our counties are still in a state of emergency. There are still public employees, volunteers, firefighters, the whole team from the National Guard. Everyone is still risking their lives trying to bring people back to some type of normalcy. I've had a number of occasions to speak with Speaker Armstead. And Governor, what I want to do is thank you for listening. It was absolutely clear to us that when the governor was in the areas where people have been victims of this flooding, that not only was he there to see, he's there to listen. And he listened. We kind of look at this as a very long-term operation. In Kanawha County, we're calling this the hard road. As bad as the first part's been, we're now on the hard road. And we understand, and this governor certainly understands, that people not only need a safe place to live, they need their schools back, they need their lives back, they need some help, but they also need a job. And that's what we're here to do today. Now to listen to the governor who has listened to us. I'm going to introduce him again because I like to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, the 35th governor of the 35th state, the Honorable Governor Earl Ray Tomblin. Governor, thank you so much.
Thanks. Well, good morning, everyone. Before we get started here, I'd like to thank Commissioner Kent Carper for joining us, along with Andy Pendleton, the mayor of Raynell, and House Speaker Tim Armstead for being here with us today. Notice we got several of our members of the legislature, the House and Senate who are here today, and I appreciate all that you have done for the past month to help our constituents out all around the affected areas of the state. We've had lots of contact with many of you and tried to respond as quickly as possible to the needs of the people. But all of you are here today because you know how important small businesses are to our communities and have seen firsthand how so many of them were affected by last month's flooding. For people like Cheryl Sams and her husband, who owns Sam's Auction and Bargain Barn in Clendenin, this disaster was deeply hard-hitting. They lost about $100,000 in inventory, and their building sustained $30,000 in damages. But they plan to rebuild, not only for themselves, but for their community by focusing their new inventory initially on houseware items so that they can help their neighbors get things like coffee pots and silverware at discount prices. Because of stories like theirs and so many more, I am pleased to announce the state's new RISE West Virginia initiative. This public-private partnership will invest in flood-impacted small businesses, which truly are the bedrocks of our communities. We're working closely with the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce to make this possible. The Chamber has a similar program already in place, but with additional support from the state, we can reach even more small businesses across the 12 counties hit the hardest. Our goal for this program is $2 million from a combination of private donations and state dollars that otherwise could have been part of the Racetrack Modernization Fund. The program got an early boost with West Virginia's native, Brad Smith, who is chairman and CEO of Intuit, and his wife, Elise, who have committed a family donation of $500,000. In addition, his company will provide impacted small businesses free products such as QuickBooks, accounting, and merchant payment services, along with free training to help them get back up and running. And I want to thank Brad, Elisa, and Intuit for their exceptional support of RISE West Virginia and their incredibly generous devotion to the Mountain State. As we look for funding for this program, representatives of our state's 4 racetracks were also looking for ways to help those impacted by the flood. Modernization dollars are allocated solely at the discretion of the administration and lottery director. The racetrack's acknowledgement to not seek $4.5 million from this fund this coming year will allow the state to allocate those dollars for critical recovery efforts like this one. We will use a portion of the fund for this program and the remainder for other flood relief work. Secretary of Commerce Keith Burdett and our State Development Office will work directly with the State Chamber to oversee the RISE program. Interested donors will be asked to contact the State Development Office, and small businesses will apply directly through the Chamber. A committee will review applications and award funding in amounts reaching up to $10,000 on a first-come, first-served basis based upon need. As we have seen in the aftermath of this disaster, it will take all of us, local, state, and federal governments, the private sector, and generous individuals like Brad Smith to rebuild. And that is what the RISE initiative represents, an all-hands-on-deck approach to getting people back in business, back to work, and keeping our communities together and strong. FEMA, along with several other nonprofit entities and our volunteer organizations active in disaster, are working to get people back in their homes. This new program is a way to make sure that our residents have the goods and services they need close to their rebuilt homes and revitalized communities. This is truly a flood recovery for a brighter future. Together, we're rising beyond the disaster that struck our state. We're doing so for the communities and for business owners like Cheryl Sams, who I am so happy she could join us today. Cheryl, you come up and say a few words. She likes Cheryl likes to be called Shug, but I was told to call her Cheryl.
Thank you guys for having me here today. And on behalf of Clendenin and all the businesses, we really, really appreciate you, especially the Chamber of Commerce, who has come to us and actually gave us the first money that we have seen, and now to the state that it's going to help us even further. We have lost over 40-some businesses in our town, and only 5 right now is up and running. And they are only partial up and running in mobile homes and stuff, the pharmacies. And we are going to try to be reopened, thanks to the Chamber and the state, within 2 weeks. And we are going to be bringing things to our town that they need: sheets, blankets, small appliances, anything that will help the residents get back on their feet also. It's just not the businesses, it's also the residents. It's like a ripple effect. You know, when one was affected, we're all affected. And we need all the help, not only the businesses, but the residents still. They're rebuilding. Everyone needs help right now in Clendenin, and I know Richwood and other places was hit hard. And we know what they're going through. And we just want to help and do all we can for everyone. And I hope this is okay, but Clendenin is planning a block party on September the 3rd, and everyone is invited. And everything's will be free. We're going to bring our community back. And our community means everything to us, and we want to have it back the way it was before the flood, and even better. And I just want to say thanks again to the governor, to the chamber, to everyone. Tim Armstead especially. I got to throw this in, my Diet Coke that he brought to me when I was having a Diet Coke attack, okay? but thank everyone for everything they have done for our town. We really, really appreciate everyone, the volunteers especially. We love you all, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Cheryl. Now I'm pleased to introduce one of the hardest working mayors in the state of West Virginia, Raynell Mayor Andy Pendleton, to talk about the impact of flooding on her area's small businesses and why this initiative is so important. Now, I visited with Mayor Pendleton in Raynell right after the floods came, and I was struck by the impact on that community and inspired by how tirelessly she works on behalf of the people there. And 4 years ago, Mayor, I visited you during the derecho when we had 105-degree temperatures down there and trying to keep people cool down. And one of the things, and that was the first time that I saw her in action, but she was out there. There was one gas station in town that had electricity, and she was out there pumping gas for people coming in and out. She does a little bit of everything. When I visited her a month ago, she had her boots on. She was ready to wade the mud with us down there and get her people back to work. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mayor Pendleton from Raynell.
I don't have anything written. This is my superhero. As I was going to say, he's got Superman underneath that suit. Don't want to kid you. But anyway, ditto to you. Same for me, ditto, the same. I did want to say I first met the governor at the Municipal League in 2011. And it was my first year being mayor. We were at the Marriott in Charleston. The room was filled with mayors, sheriffs, who else? Council people, everybody you can imagine was there, commissioners and everybody. And I was a little bit late, and I was in the back room, and I was sitting in the back of the row. This was my very first few months of office, and I became mayor when I got my Medicare card 6 years ago. So go figure what age I am. So that's just the way it is. So anyway, he was talking about he was talking about infrastructure. That's the first part that you need to do for your town is infrastructure, this, infrastructure, that, infrastructure. And then he said, is there any questions? I'm on the back of the row with my knees are shaking like I wanted to get saved. I wanted to jump up and say, it's me, the governor, it's me. Well, I did jump up. My knees were knocking. And I said, Governor, I need so many. And one thing was the flooding issue. Now, the flooding issue was the big infrastructure issue for us, plus storm drains and drinking water. But the flooding issue I did bring up. I said, sir, when it starts to rain, everybody says, Mama, as they're sleeping in the bed, Mama sits outside, Mama, how deep is the water? Well, Mama didn't have a chance to look at this water coming up. It was deep and it was fast running. That being said, it's been a terrible situation for all of us. Every business was affected, turned upside down with water, with appliances floating in it, furniture floating in it. When they cleaned out of every business but one, City National Bank did not get affected on both sides of the street. Every house got affected. In fact, every home on one side was affected, every home on both sides of the street, but one side they had to move out. We've had 100 and some shutoffs of our water department. And that being said, I wanted to say, I did write down a few things now. Give me a chance. That being said, Governor, I care about my town. I wasn't flooded, but I felt like I was flooded in my heart. I was flooded with tears. I went to every place I could find and did everything I could possibly do to this day. I've had one day off. It happened to be yesterday. I was so tired. This is 6 weeks. I was so tired. If you keep busy, you don't get tired. But once I have a day off, I got tired. So I'm back at it again, and delighted you asked me here. I feel I was going to get up and wear a black dress today in mourning for my town. I felt like it's been a funeral altogether. And I was afraid for my volunteers to leave. I was afraid for everybody came from all over the states, news reporters, everybody. And it sort of boosted us up. And I was afraid for them to leave. I felt like you were at a funeral and everybody'd leave and you'd be standing alone. Well, people are leaving and I'm not standing alone. I need a lot of help. I need a lot of brains. I need a lot of thoughts. I need a lot of things. But anyway, I've come to the conclusion, this is Raynell's Noah's Ark. And the Noah's Ark is like a new beginning for Raynell. You know, we had 5 deaths. That's not a new beginning for our family. But it'll be a new beginning for our businesses, thanks to you. A new beginning for people. We have American Appalachian Service Project coming in to build 50 houses for the lower income. We have people helping people. People that have been affected is helping each other. It's just the caring and the loving as the derecho storm was, but the hard-hitness is there, and it will remain. But we're willing to keep fighting. As John Rain and John and Tom Rain came to town in 1906, they built a town to carry on. They built the world's largest lumber mill. They didn't run off. They discovered, first of all, huge trees, mahogany, cedar, oak, chestnut. It goes on and on and on, the type of wood they did. They didn't take the tree and run with it or take anything. They built a town. They built their company houses. They built the company store. They built the churches. We got the largest church full of chestnut as we speak today. It sits on the hill and it didn't get damaged. But in 1933, during the Great Depression, John Rain said, this is a town built to carry on. And our town is built to carry on. Governor, in your floor, in your dining room, is the Meadow River Lumber Company. In your house, it could be the Meadow River Lumber Company. Across the seas is the Meadow River Lumber Company. I'm telling you, we're a town built to carry on. May I have my shovel, please?
Put me to work.
A year ago, I had to get into seeing, security. It wasn't too friendly. So anyway, I take this shovel. It was given to me a year ago. We built, one of the infrastructures was water. We had the drinking water, $2.6 million loan, started last spring. It was in December that it finished, and it got flooded. $2.6 million loan. $10,000 starting in April we'll have to pay back, and then it'll be, with 100 cutoffs, the money won't be there, the B&O won't be there, but we know what we have to do to keep going. My businesses are running. We had people that would come and want to send drywall and stuff to adopt a family. I took them downtown, and I said, here's Ace Hardware, here's Red Star. I took them down, here's the furniture store, here's the appliance store. Whatever you wanted to do, instead of ordering it from someplace and shipping it in, let's order it from our businesses. Is that right? Let's put our businesses back to work because the people aren't there. So, Governor, this was the shovel that built that we started our drinking water plant, and I want to thank you for coming to my town during the derecho, during the helicopter, and I waited for that helicopter, I'm going to tell you. He waited till the rain come again, but he shows up, and I'm looking up in the air, and there's all kinds of helicopters, different times, and I'm going, finally, there's the blue and gold one. Then it started raining, you couldn't see your hand in front of you. You said, oh, he's not going to be able to land. But Superman did. He landed. One more presentation, if I might make to you.
Okay.
This is you.
This is me. All right. Thanks, Mayor. Where'd you go?
Many years ago, well, the world's largest lumber mill, Max Hazlett in the year of Well, anyway, it's several years ago. His father had worked at the lumber mill, and he grew up in the Rupert area, and his mother cleaned a house for the owner of the lumber mill. So he painted the painting of the world's largest lumber mill, and we sold it. And my best friend bought it and gave it to Historical Society. So therefore, I'm going to give this to you on behalf of the town of Raynell, to you, to hang either in your dining or your office or where your dining room is. I know it's not the fanciest of pictures, but it's what the town built to carry on is. Now, Max Hazlett is a world-famous artist. You'll have to look him up. This is famous. He's up to West Virginia University. However, you're going to make me ashamed, but this isn't the original. But
I would not know the difference.
But this is the copy for the copier. What is that called? French. Bonature? It's the copy off the copy. It's number 2.
Oh, okay.
But
well,
God bless you.
I was number 2 a long time, so.
I didn't write a speech.
See what she was doing back there. Mayor, you didn't need to write a speech. You've done a good job. So, anyhow, last I'd like to introduce our Speaker of the House. I know that he comes from an area that was hit very, very hard, and I've seen him in action up there and wading the mud and looking after his people, and not only in his delegate district, but worried about the people all across the state of West Virginia. And I know he has pushed very hard to get a program very similar to this. And Mr. Speaker, I'd ask you to come up and make a few remarks, and thank you for all that you've done for the people of our state.
Thank you. Governor, I'm sorry I didn't bring you a shovel, but there are plenty of them up in Clinton that we could bring up here. But first of all, let me say thank you so much for this program. It will mean a tremendous amount to the people that were affected by this flood. I know that you came to Clendenin as well as many of the other areas that were affected, and you see that not only did it affect people's homes, but it's their towns and the places that they go to be able to buy things and to be able, just the things that they need to be able to clean up their homes and to get their homes back in order. So obviously the biggest emphasis right now is to get our people back into their homes, but we also need to rebuild their communities. As the mayor said, it's such an important part. These small businesses are the backbone of our neighborhoods, of our communities. And I have to say, Shug, and I've always known her as Shug. I'm glad to find out Cheryl was there. That's the first time I knew what her real name is. But Shug and Danny, let me just tell you what kind of people we have in our neighborhoods and our communities. Because even though I was up there on Saturday after the flood, and it got not only into their bottom floor, but up into their top floor of their business. But last week, while they were recovering, they also used the site of their company as a location for volunteers to come in and bring building supplies. And people came and got drywall and 2x4s and insulation right at their business. That's the kind of people we have in our neighborhoods and our communities that were affected, that even though they're trying to rebuild, they're trying to help everyone else rebuild too. And we appreciate that. And this will be an important component in that, because these small businesses not only, as we said, bring to the communities the goods and services that they need, so they don't have to come to another city, in our case to Charleston, to get these. They can get these at home where they're trying to recover. But also the jobs that it creates, because there are so many people in Clendenin, in Elkview, in Raynell, in Richwood, in all these areas that are out of work right now because their small businesses are not able to reopen. And this is what I consider economic development on the ground, where it matters most for these communities as we try to rebuild. So, Governor, we certainly appreciate this. This is there are other programs, there are loan programs, but for so many of these businesses, having a small amount just to rebuild and to restock will mean the world. It'll be the difference between them being able to reopen or not be able to reopen. And that's why this is such an important component of this recovery effort. So, Governor, we thank you for this. We thank you that, and I also want to compliment the Governor. We had talked about this as possibly something as we go into a special session to get, but it's an urgent need. It needs to be done now. And so working with the administration, with the Chamber of Commerce, with the small businesses, we can start this process today and move forward. And that's going to be incredibly important to rebuilding our communities. So we thank everyone that's been involved. Commissioner Carper has been a large part of this as well, working with our communities in our area and all the legislators that are here. But it is a team effort, and it's a long-term effort. It's something that's going to take some time. But this is a great and important early step in that process, and we thank you for taking this step. Governor.
All right. Well, that concludes. Did you say something?
I think you did a good job.
Oh, okay. But this concludes our press conference this morning. Each of the speakers will be happy to do one-on-ones with the press if you'd like to do that. So thank you all for coming. Thanks for everything you have all in this room done for the past month and being good West Virginians and helping our fellow West Virginians to get back on their feet. Thank you.